was your age, Hammond. There wasn't no 14-year-old virgins around Falcon Hills. Hammond craves the bright skin ones. But even you don't hanker for Big Pearl.
I do hanker, Papa. It's powerful muskies.
Oh!
There's no need for much to bother you. Just soak them good in manganate of potash water.
Need some more milk.
Yes, sir.
Agamemnon, you black scoundrel, get in here. Help Lucretia Borgia. Tell how many seconds you bring us, Lucretia Borgia.
24, master.
24. These twins. 2 of them. Is she bred out now? Too old.
Yes, sir, master.
I'm calling you, ma'am. I'm begging you to stay faced.
Papa, don't get yourself right now. It ain't good for your rooms.
I'll get Master Hammond to take care of this. You are hide off you.
Oh, no, master, don't hide me, please, sir. I be spry.
Do you have any religion for your niggers, Mr. Maxwell?
Hell no. More religion they gets, the ornerier they gets. Harder to drive.
Don't worry none about their immortal souls.
They aren't got no immortal souls. They gets to thinking they are souls. They gets to thinking they're as good as white folk. Ma'am, you reckon you got a soul?
Well, lazy enough, count stupid, God-forsaken nigga like me can't have a soul, master.
Well, some folks think they got souls and go to heaven, too.
Them abolitionists up north telling us they're as good as whites.
Damn sons of bitches. Slavery was ordained by God himself. Niggas are right happy eating, working, fornicating. Abolitionists. Cranks and loonies, trifling loafers, interfering in other folks' business.
Your rheumatism.
I don't give a damn about my rheumatism. Don't do this, don't do that. Gets worse. Whatever I do or quit doing.
What is your rank, bro?
Sergeant First Class.
Your company?
437 Civil Affairs Company, U.S. Army Reserve.
My man, tell me something, okay? What is the problem with Michael Jackson?
What do you mean?
What is the problem with Michael Jackson? What is the problem with Michael Jackson? You understand my question?
No, I'm not sure I do.
The king of pop. Woohoo! Hee.
Yeah, Michael Jackson.
He come to Egypt, I see picture in newspaper. Hello, with the white glove, I'm Michael Jackson in my hotel room with my shop up face. Your country making shop up his face.
I don't think so.
Michael Jackson is pop king of sick fucking country.
That's bullshit. He did it to himself.
You are the blind bullshit, my man. It is so obvious. A black man made the skin white and the hair straight, and you know why?
No.
You sick fucking country make the black man hate himself.
Hi everybody, I'm Steve Ducey with your Fox Flash for this Monday. Standing up for police officers, a 22-year-old South Carolina man's account of a recent traffic stop has gone viral.
I was in the wrong. I didn't realize it. He gave me a warning and I was about my way. I am an African-American male. This gentleman was Caucasian. There were no problems. He did his job. I did what I was supposed to do. And that was it.
Well, now that young man, William Stack, is explaining why he thought it was important to share that video.
I think for me, my message is there's no doubt that there's a lot of injustices going on in America. Everybody can agree with that. What I'm saying is not all people are bad. You're not automatically a bad person because of the color of your skin or because of the profession that you do. I think we should, as people, judge a person based off of the content of their character rather than the color of their skin or what they do for a living. Give everybody a fair shot.
Have you experienced racism in your life?
Unfortunately, I have, and it's happened on multiple occasions. Honestly, in spite of that, I do my best to not let my past experiences affect my future experiences with the people that I meet.
Where does that come from? Does it come from your military training, or does it come from your parents, or both?
It's definitely a combination of both. You know, I was always raised to see the world with eyes open, you know, see people without color, give everybody a fair chance. And when I got to the military, that was even more astounded on, because when you're in the military, you work with people of all different races, of all different backgrounds, and none of that matters when you join, because our uniform is the same color, we all serve the same purpose, and we're all protecting the same freedom.
The video already has more than 2 million views. Thank you for stopping by.
Americans have overreacted.
We're not talking about their cases. We're talking about this case.
Michael Brown situation.
No,
I'm saying we got to stop overreacting.
Gentlemen, let me step in here. Leo, you got to stop. We can't hear Jesse. We can't hear you. Let him finish his thought, and I will go back to you. I promise. Jesse.
All that I'm saying is that we should wait for due process, because I don't think Americans understand how angry and brainwashed these young black folks are. There has been an element of black Americans who have been listening to people like
you better come
these
to me
race
or I'm
hustlers.
gone.
Right, Leo,
I am not going to sit here and listen to this hate.
All right, Leo.
Okay, it's my turn.
No, now it's my turn, and then I'll go to you. Hang on a second, Leo.
I'm not going to listen to it.
Leo, I am saying I want to ask you a legal question, because we're talking about here. I think what Jesse is discussing is a topic for another day, but not in this case.
Yes.
In this case,
now, I agree.
The justifiable, legal justifiable use of force is clear. He is not a threat to anybody. I think it's irrelevant what happened leading up to this, based on the video.
Listen, I have just given you kudos. You and I are in agreement for the second time in the history of Fox News Cable. It is against the law for any officer to shoot an unarmed black man or any man in the back.
Let me ask
Jesse
you a
Lee
favor.
Peterson wants to talk about everything. Hey, you quiet down.
God damn!
If you don't stop talking, I'm done.
Let me ask for your support, Leo.
I'm done.
Right now, I'm working with a family in the inner cities of South Central LA. They have gang members who are living in their community and openly robbing their homes. They're breaking into their homes. And the good folks there are afraid to even call the police officers, and they know who is doing it, but they fear for their lives.
Jesse,
I want Leo to get with me and get cameras to go into those communities and photo. Well, it's too bad. Leo's a little coward. But I want Leo to go into the inner cities with me with cameras, and let's take pictures of the thugs who are harassing the inner cities.
I think that's a discussion for a different day.
Come on, brother. I know you know how to do this dance.
No, sorry, I don't.
Come on, man. I know you know how to do the electric slide.
No, I can't say that I do.
Get your ass in there.
I'm not going to be blunt with y'all. I understand we need to move beyond color. I'm not about that, but y'all raised it. If you start it, I'll end it for you. Don't start nothing. It won't be nothing. But we got a problem. Black people got a problem. Now we can move to color blindness and always look at the man by the content of his character, never the color of his skin. I'm down for that. You get my vote. Yay and amen. I'm for that. But before we get there, we need to hear some truth. Black people and white folk. Black people got a problem. Now who sent you, nigga? And it's a God problem. And I ain't playing, nigga. When black people see the world, I don't care. You can train them. You can train a black man to be a physician. You can train him to be an astrophysicist. You can train him to be a lawyer, but you can't train him to understand the world. He doesn't know. Say another motherfucking word and this shit is over. There's not 2 cents worth of difference between a mass murderer. There's not 2 cents of difference between a petty thief that's locked away in prison than a black doctor when it comes to understanding the world. Listen, you listen to me. We got to deal with this. And we need to begin to acknowledge it, talk about it, ask God to help us, because only God can help black people where they are. Black people had Africa, that big old continent over there. They never built one boat that was seaworthy. Not one. There's not one monument in Africa, in all of Africa. I know you're talking about Egypt. Egypt is not Africa. Shut the fuck, shut. No! Oh, shit. Say it again. Say something else. Oh, say something else. Say something else. There are no great cities that were built. Even before the first colonization of white people coming to the shores of Africa or the slave ships, black men built nothing. Aren't you proud of them? Don't let him do it. Don't let him. I beg you. It's over.
Interrogation will continue unless otherwise directed by a higher authority.
System. No houses above one level, and none of them made out of stone. All of them made out of grass and wood. Black men, before the white man ever got to Africa, the worst thing that could ever happen to South Africa was when they gave it to Nelson Mandela. God damn! And black folk. That was a great nation. Now, notwithstanding apartheid was wrong, we all know it's wrong. I'm against it. There should have been some other resolution, though, than turning it over to Nelson Mandela. Disease, AIDS, and crime is running wild in Johannesburg. They're killing one another over there. They're dying of sickness. The government is mismanaged. The people who ran the nation are now leaving the nation because black folk don't know how to run no nation. But where the weed at? They don't know how, and we need to admit it. I know you don't like it, but you need to stop shucking and jiving. We got a problem. Nigeria produces oil every year, yet the children over there are hungry and pot-bellied and walking barefoot. We got a problem. You talk about the Hutus and the Tutsis. Look what's going on in Zimbabwe now with Mugabe. We got a problem, black folk. And forget about Zimbabwe and South Africa, Nigeria. Look at what y'all have done in Harlem. You can't even hold on to Harlem. We got a problem. Black folk don't understand the world. You can get mad with me all you want. You can say what you, but you can't prove me wrong. Now, I'm not saying this because I hate black folk. I'm saying it because I love you enough to tell the truth. And the only person going to ever help us get out of the situation is going to be God. There's something wrong with the black man's mind. There's something wrong with his mind. He does not understand the world.
I want to know what's going on, baby. Yes, I want to know what's going on right now. What's going on? Tell me, yeah, what's going on? All right.
All ready to win, just as we are born, knowing only life. It is defeat that you must learn to prepare for.
It's always been about race. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, the Whiteologist, MrBlowsurmind, bringing you, my listeners, the issues, problems, debate, perspective, analysts, advocacy, opinions on the matters of race and our world, and whether you're black, white, red, yellow, brown, or pink. These are the taboos that hide beneath the surface and lurks with evil intention. My show is to bring out these truths and reveal the hidden, so that our world may have a much better understanding to why this illness has permeated our world, and through what venues does it exist in. Does race hide itself in politics, religion, labor, law, sex, war, education, entertainment? And my subject for today is Hey, how's y'all doing? This is MrBlowsurmind coming with another thought-provoking topic. I know y'all, it's been a minute. Been working on some projects, trying to get things together. I want to appreciate, first and foremost, the subscribers. I mean, you have pushed the numbers well beyond what I've been trying to establish this new form that I'm going to try to put together. I want to thank y'all for a lot of your comments. You passerbys, you can keep commenting, saying the things you want to say. I have no problem with that. And I actually, if you want to send me an email through this channel, let me know if you want to be a participant on a actual show that I want to do. Anybody interested, hit me with the email, and we can correspond in that way. Man, probably saying, MrBlowsurmind, what do you mean by this, the Stockplantationnegroe Syndrome? Well, I just think when we look at all the things that have been happening with us, right, when we are formulating some kind of structure, right, organizing and if you want to call creating institutions and things of that, right, we seem to be always undermined with an element that I think that needs to be part of the dialogue amongst our people. And there's a general term that's been used when we talk about house nigger and field nigger, right? But there's a scientific aspect to it, which they call Stockholm Syndrome, right? And in Stockholm Syndrome, right, let me, I'm actually put this up on the screen for you guys so that you can, for somebody who may hear the word but don't really understand it, let's kind of like, let's break this down some, you understand? Let's break it down. So Stockholm Syndrome, right, or they call it also capture and bonding. It's a psychological phenomenon in which hostages express empathy and sympathy and have positive feelings towards their captors, sometimes to the point of defending and identifying with the captors. These feelings are generally considered irrational in light of the danger of risk and endures by the victim, who essentially mistakes their lack of abuse for their captors for an act of kindness. The FBI hostage barricade data system shows that roughly 8% of victims show evidence of Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome can be seen as a form of traumatic bonding, which does not necessarily require a hostage scenario, but which describes strong emotional ties that develop between two persons who one person intimately harasses, beats, threatens, abuses, or intimidates the other. One commonly used hypothesis to explain the effects of the Stockholm Syndrome is based on the Freudian theory. It suggests that the bonding is the individual response to trauma and becoming a victim. Identifying with the aggressor is one way that ego defends itself. When a victim believes the same values as the aggressor, they cease to be perceived as a threat. So let's break the Stockholm Syndrome of what I just read. Now, I highlighted the fact in Stockholm Syndrome. It's a psychological phenomenon, right? So, studying the mind, I will break down and show you that this is part of the, let's put it this way, this is part of a imaginary chain around a lot of the people, because it's a psychological. It's what cannot be seen, right? So there's a psychological phenomenon that in science, okay, we got to understand that this dynamic that has been going with black and white is not something that just happened when many of us who are in the paradigm of the America, right, whether it be South, you know what I'm saying, North America, Canada, Mexico, right, and the islands as well, right? This history that we have as being, the slaves or descendants of slaves of this land mass, a lot of people equate that this is the only history, that this only started here. They don't understand that this is a continuation of generations that is hereditary to continue the family business. I'm going to say that again. A lot of our people do not understand that the history of which we're all having some kind of effect from is not just from the standpoint of who we descended from, but it actually crosses over and goes back much further, and this is a hereditary continuation of business that people, which we will hear people state and say that I have nothing personally, or I don't have any agenda towards what is now prevalent in today. But this is actually a continual business. This is something that has been inherited. You understand what I'm saying? And so, by them collecting, studying, analyzing, you understand, critiquing, we find out that in the word science, it means to know. Right? Psychology is the mind, so science of psychology is, trying to figure out how the mind operates. This is where you get your sociology. But you have these, science that tries to have some kind of forethought as how things operate. And if you can get a pattern to how things operate and it becomes factual, it is a benefit to that which uses it. And so when we read this as psychological phenomena, it is saying that the science, that if we take it to its origins of when they began to study it, where it has taken today has become out of their wildest dreams how it has fruition. It has become a phenomenon, right? Meaning it has worked way greater than we ever thought it was going to work. That's how great this stock syndrome has worked. Okay? So it has captivated the minds and has perpetuated from generation to generations that the formula, right? The formula is like Coke, right? They tell you the history of Coke that the ingredients to Coke has to be locked away, put in a safe, and hidden that no one could ever figure out what the ingredients to make coke, so that you can't do it. So this is the same thing here. This science is secretive to those who are using it against the masses who don't understand it. And so when you see a video, as I have pieced together to show you the Stockplantationnegroe Syndrome, right? These people are so under the hypnosis of the psychological phenomena that sometimes they're speaking as if they are a clone. You understand? They have no real connection to what is perceived in the reality versus to what they have been bred. Because you got to understand, when we take this word stock, a lot of people were already under the mindset that it's cattle, right? Right? Animal, right? Also, stock can be a person of dull, or, you know, a stupid or a lifeless person, right? It can be an estimate or evaluation, confidence or faith placed in someone or something could be brought forward, right? So when we continue this finding of the Stockholm Syndrome, it says in which hostages express empathy and sympathy and have a positive feeling towards their captors. Now, hostage in this sense will have to be relating to the people who've been oppressed, disenfranchised, who have been systematically deprived, and through psychology, it's invisibly being enslaved. So that, by its definition, is a hostage. You feel what I'm saying? And so you have people who have been through as we already read, trauma, which may not be in the first hand, but it may be something genetically passed down through, you understand, DNA. And so what I want to express here maybe is causation. Some confusion has arisen in the minds of persons considering this principle. From the fact that they were unable to explain how one thing could cause another thing, that is, be the creator of the second thing. As a matter of fact, no thing ever causes or creates another thing. Cause and effect deals merely with events. An event is that which comes, arrives, or happens as a result of a consequence of some preceding events. No event creates another event, but is merely a preceding link in the great orderly chain of events flowing from the creative energy of the all. There is a continuity between all events preceding, consequence, and subsequence. There is a relation existing between everything that has gone before and everything that follows. A stone is dislodged from a mountainside and crashes through a roof, a college, in a valley below. At first sight, we regard this as a chance effect, but when we examine the matter, we find a great chain of causes behind it. In the first place, there was rain, which softened the earth supporting the stone and which allowed it to fall. Then, back on that was the influence of the sun and other rains, etc. When gradually disintegrated the piece of the rock from a larger piece, then there were the causes which led to the formation of the mountains, and its upheaval by convulsions of nature, and so on and ad infinitum. Then we might follow up the causes behind the rain, etc. Then we might consider the existence of the roof. In short, we would soon find ourselves involved in a mesh of cause and effects from which we would soon strive to extricate ourselves. Just as a man has 2 parents, and 4 grandparents, and 8 great-grandparents, and 16 great-great-grandparents, and so on, until when, say, 40 generations are calculated, the number of ancestors run into the many millions. So it is with the numbers of causes behind even the most trifling events of phenomena, such as the passage of a tiny speck of soot before your eyes. It is not an easy matter to trace the bit of soot hacked to the early part of a world's history when it formed a part of a massive tree trunk. which was afterwards converted into coal and so on, until as the speck of the soot is now passes before your vision on its way to other adventures. And a mighty chain of events, causes and effects brought it to its present condition, and later it but one of the chains of events which will go to produce other events hundreds of years from now. One of the series of events arising from the tiny bit of soot was the writing of these lines, which causes the typesetter to perform certain work, the proofreader to do likewise, in which are aroused certain thoughts in the mind, and that of others, which in turn will affect others, and so on and on and on, beyond the ability of man to think further and all from the passage of a tiny bit of soot, all which shows the relativity and association of things, and further fact that there is no great, there is no small in the mind that causes all. Right? You need to understand causation in this part, because some people are going to have a hard time understanding this, because those of us who consider ourselves to be real, when we talk about real, we talk about we of the essence, right? And we love our people. And sometimes we got our people who don't understand where we're coming from, because they're under this tutelage, they're under this spell of this psychological phenomenon. And everything that they have been programmed, taught, and learned has become the all-be-all. And I won't even say 100%. I'll say 90-something percent, because there's that small percentage of them who actually understand the reality, but choose not to look at it for the simple fact of a submission mentality, which is to appease to it in order to benefit it. You understand what I'm saying? And so these hostages that we're talking about, of this psychological phenomenon, you'll hear them say things that, as we've seen in the video, a young brother who posted a video that ended up going viral based on the simple fact of an encounter he had with the police during a traffic stop. Now, for a lot of us who've been out here, who've been dealing with society as a black man, or black people in general, whether it be male or female, I can't really speak from the female side of you, but some of you sisters who may hear this, write your comments or experience if you want to, articulate those points. I don't know if the same scenario happens in traffic stop as they do with brothers, but I know from personal experience that a lot of times when we are being pulled over, a lot of times it's not so much of breaking or infraction of the law. It may have something to do with just the fact that what type of vehicle you're driving, the presence of aura that emanates from you. You understand what I'm saying? And it's just this, sense that this cop feels the need to mess with you, and by you being black, when they're pulling you over and they say that they're getting you for an infraction, right? If I don't get you for the initial infraction, I may stumble across something that I didn't know once I pulled you over. You may got a warrant, child support, you know what I'm saying? You may even have an infraction to owe some money based on some course or class you might have taken, right? And when you clear all that, now those who've been around a little bit, you don't know what I'm talking about. When you cleared all that, they used to hit us up with, remember when we used to have the 8-ball in the window? Maybe you put that little air freshener in there. How many of y'all got traffic tickets for a damn air freshener? Huh? $50 a $5, $3 air freshener. You're gonna pay $50 because they're gonna say it's obstructing your view, as if you wouldn't have taken it down. But that's what they were doing. They would find these little infractions to justify why they're putting you over. You understand what I'm saying? And so here's this brother who was maybe in his early 20s. Now you take 20 years off from where we at. It's not that you're not going through it, but you don't have the connecting dots that lets you understand that he wants to state that he was just doing his job and I was doing what I had to do and he let me go. If he was doing his job and you had an infraction, it is his job to write tickets. That's what he's there for, is to make revenue for the department. So him letting you go means that there was really no infraction that he could really, you know what I'm saying, justify. And maybe through your conversation, based on what we heard in this this newscast, you stated that you was in the military, right? Another hostage situation, right? Where they bring you in, and let's look at the people who are brought into the military, who are people who really don't have any options to do anything else. So they leave this as a back door, break the glass case of emergency. You get 3 hots in a cot with some benefits. Okay. And you go. But you're going to do his business, regardless to, you know what I'm saying, what you perceive to be right and wrong. You don't have right and wrong. You have orders, targets. You understand? You're a GI, which is government issue, meaning your name ain't even a name no more. Okay? So you become a hostage in that environment. And what end up happening when they break you down like that, and what they do to the people, the masses who cannot formulate the reality of what is real, they seem to always find empathy and sympathy for people who are outrightly going after you and harassing you, just because they can. A lot of them use their positions and titles to accost people who they couldn't do it on the normal basis. They do it in a way so that they justify it by their jobs. You understand what I'm saying? It is the best way stealthily to be a racist is to put on a badge. Because I also got the power to kill you, and I can justify it because once you're dead, I can write and we can formulate it, because a cop knows just as much as the law as the lawyer. He knows what things he needs to write in his reports to make it, you understand, justifiable enough so that he's not going to get reprimanded for it. So what we're seeing is we're seeing our people under this psychological phenomena, sickness. I won't say Stockholm because that's over in Europe. I'm talking about here where we are. This is called the Stockplantationnegroe Syndrome. You feel me? And so we're seeing people who empathize and sympathize with the person who's doing you wrong, and you having a positive feeling. You do everything. When you hear this young brother, he's sitting here saying, hey, I was raised not to be a racist and to treat everybody. I don't understand. I still do not understand it. That's why this Stockholm Syndrome is perfect for this. Well, Stockplantationnegroe Syndrome is perfect for this, for the simple fact that why of you who's getting abused? What it say? It says you getting abused, harassed, threatened, intimidated. You're even getting killed. All this that can be seen, and yet you keep having great rapport coming out of your mouth to, you understand, to give adulations to something that is not worthy to even be spoken in high with any positivity. Why do you have to be positive when somebody's doing detriment to you? Isn't it real? Isn't it right? Isn't it just being truthful to just say what it is? See, you keep trying to paint something over dirt to try to make it look like it's, you know what I'm saying? It's like the mausoleums. They paint them white to make it look like, well, you know, it's an affixture that is where we are worshiping the people who have died. But inside there is decomposing bodies. You understand? It's not the greatest place that you would want to live in, but you do paint it in such a way that it looks like it's representable. But that's what we're doing. What we're doing, a lot of these things that's happening, we're acting as if like, well, he even stated. You hear the young man say, well, have you had any racial exchanges? sure we all know that we all know. Huh? If we all know this, then why did you decide that the one time you being pulled over, you want to express your sympathy and empathy and saying for the good cops that are out here, you want to display that you had a good cop that displayed some common courtesy to you by not killing you, not arresting you, and not even giving you a ticket. All 3 strikes right there tell me then he didn't have no reason for pulling you over. But you didn't mention that. But I guess this syndrome kicked in, and you want to express, and this is what they're looking for. They're looking for these Stockplantation Negroes to keep upholding them as wrongfully as they should be feeling guilty as hell. Let me do something. Let me tell you something. Hold on. You know, this word stock also means if we supply. So there's a supply of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a stockpile of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's an inventory of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's quantities of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a mass of these Stockplantation Negroes. There is a selection of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a reservoir of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a collection of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a well of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a catchy of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a repository of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's species of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's breeds of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a class of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a genotype of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's also a race of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a brand of these Stockplantation Negroes. There's a lineage of these Stockplantation Negroes. And lastly, there's a bloodline of these Stockplantation Negroes. And when I say bloodline, I'm going into something else. I'm going to show you something. So let's continue on here. Right? So these people, it says next on the second line, sometimes to the point of defending and identifying with their captors. This is where you keep hearing this quote that keeps coming, that keeps reverberating, that keeps regurgitating, that keeps being thrown up. I don't judge a man by the color of his skin, but the content of his character. If we understood as much, let me put this in good context here. I know there's a lot of people who have a dissension with Martin Luther King. And at one point in time, Martin Luther King felt he was doing what he thought was right. But he didn't realize he was being duped, that he was being undermined, he was being tricked. He didn't know it. He was trying to do, being educated, being in this circle, being around people who thought had his best interest, not understanding the dynamic of these people and understand that they don't do anything that is worthy to be helping you, that there's always a slant to it, there's an undertone to it, there's a connotation to it. You understand what I'm saying? And so if you understand that, right, which he found out later, and that's why I think maybe he started to merge with Elijah Muhammad, when he started to realize that maybe what I was doing is not right, is what we heard that Harry Belafonte was talking about. Right? Because when you understand the NAACP and understand who funded that, and then do your history and find out that the same people who funded them were the ones that were going around who helped with the French Revolution as well as the Russian Revolution. You understand? You got to do your homework to know who you're dealing with here. All organizations have been infiltrated. I'm going to say it again. All organizations have been infiltrated. You ain't standing in opposition and thinking that they ain't putting somebody in there. Even you, ISUPK. You see, because your whole thing has set up so that you have distinguished outside of yourself and allow other people who can come and cloak as if they can pretend to be, and you don't even know. You're going under some kind of banner of about ethnicity, which is very slippery and slope until when you understand it. You got these feelings are generally considered irrational in the light of danger or risk endured by the victim. See, they'll keep saying this mantra, I don't judge anybody by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Now, the only way for you to get, let's look at this one. The word prejudice means to means before. Judging before. I can't get to conduct unless I spent time with you. You understand? In order for me to get acquainted, that's like somebody who is subscribing to the channel. You have looked at my content, you have listened to what I have said, you have either come into agreement or disagreement, and you'll make your decision based on that. Right? I have enough material for an individual to go and say, is this cat, let me see what this cat is on. And based on that, you know that based on my conduct, whether you saying you can judge me. But if you just on the fact that you're white and I'm black and I'm talking, you say, well, he's black, right? I don't know him yet, but I have some white subscribers who have subscribed, right? So based on my conduct and what I've been saying and whether they say was true or not, they say, well, I'm going to subscribe. Now let's put ourselves in a situation where we're talking about in minuscule time, decisions have to be made. You don't have time to worry about the conduct. But see, you don't know the conduct of this cop when he's accosting you. But based on your color already, he's already prejudged you how he's going to deal with you. So this, based on content of character, is something that has to be of time. What's eminent and prevalent at the time is color. Now, when we look at historically wise, again, I'm going to show you something here that says, based on the simple fact of what we have endured, it is righteous, and it is only the science of law that we should supposed to have a natural feeling towards them. This is not something we're just doing just because. That would be wrong if we just had these animosity feelings and you've never done nothing to me. And yes, you're justified, you are wrong. But if you have constantly perpetuated and continue to do the same thing over and over again, so the continued perpetuation of that deserves for a feeling of emotions. Now, historically, these people have always categorized people with emotions and feelings to be weak. Anything of valor, turmoil, militaristic, that in their eyes is considered righteousness. You understand what I'm saying? Just on that alone lets you know the mindset of the individuals who we're dealing with here. And this mindset has now permeated because either you are under the Stockholm Syndrome, or you have come to a reality syndrome, or you have come into the gangster mentality. The reason why that has permeated in our communities is because you have learned from the best. And I'll say that again. The reason why you had the drug dealers, the gangs, the guns, that is a replica. That is the... Understand emancipation. Emancipation was about the parent or the child relinquishing the rights from the parent. In the eyes of white people, they consider themselves to be the majority. In law, majority means having the right faculty to be able to make decisions, right, as a parent. A minority means like child. So, every time you've been saying that we are minorities, you are considered childlike. You don't have the right mind capacity to make your own, you know what I'm saying, distinguishing right from wrong. Men of God are supposed to be called. But the way a lot of people have went into these pits is because it's just like going into the army. it is a way that you know you can get a job, and that the job pays well, and there's some benefits in it. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of people have flocked to it, not really being called, if you all into that. So what I'm saying here is based on, again, let's go on not the color, but we're going to go on the content. When I'm dealing with my people, I'm dealing with your conduct. I ain't dealing with your color, because you and I are the same. But I'm going to deal with your conduct. Now this cat here, this Jesse cat that came on here, right? He was on this Hannity show. And so they were talking about the killing of the police officer killing an unarmed black man, shooting him in his back, right? Instead of him focusing on the topic at hand, he kept reverting it back to himself or his people, right? I don't even say his people. I don't think he think them his people. They're like other people, and he's something different, right? Now, you know, you can just tell in his demeanor, in his spirit, that, you know, a little off. You understand what I'm saying? It's protruding through his spirit. He's a little off. And if you listen to what he's saying, is that not Stockplantationnegroe Syndrome? Where he's saying things that is just like, well, right? He's trying to appease to the Hannitys and his constituents and those who subscribe and viewers of his show. You have longevity when you do this. You understand? When you keep purporting and appeasing, you will always get a paycheck. It is when you become in opposition to it, right? Then the next thing you know, you're on the other side of the fence. Now you're going to spit what you've been hiding or what you've been pretending like you didn't know. So the other brother is a lawyer, right? And he's going to, you know, attack from the law and saying that what the cop did was not lawful. But this cat kept wanting to say about black people and black people killing each other, because you hear this a lot with stock plantation Negroes. They always revert back to us as the problem. They don't understand causation. You understand? They don't understand the systemicness of causation. That nothing just happened by chance. It is a law. That this is a trickle effect starting systemic or planet from somewhere else. Again, going back to what I said, the history in this country didn't just start on slavery here. This is a continual business, a family business. Don't be fooled. You understand? So, how do you prove that, Mr. Blows Your Mind? What do you mean is something systemic before back then? Well, okay, let's put it to you like this. I'll show you some of these, you know, some of these people who, you know, like a Pierre Jean George Cabanis, right? He was from 1757 to 1808, right? You have people like Saint Simon, who 1760 to 1825, right? You got somebody like John P. Lamarck, right? 1744 to 1829, right? You got Arthur de Gobineau, right? 1816 to 1882, right? You have somebody named Ernest Renan, right? From 1823 to 1892, right? You'll have somebody like Max Mueller from 1823 to 1900. So look, these people who I'm showing you, most of you, if not majority of you, have no understanding or don't know nothing about none of these cats I just mentioned, right? There's just names to you and the white faces that you're seeing. But if you understood who these people were through anthropologists, philologists, you understand, historians and all this stuff, and understand that they were setting the mind state. They were setting the science and the mind state of a lot of what was going to be the catalyst in the mind of the European looking toward the African. And they all were for their whiteness. So if they're setting up a curriculum, a science, an education based on their paradigm of thought, then what seeds did they plant, and what are the continuals of those seeds that still growing to this day, disguising as if today I have nothing to do with nothing when this seed has already been planted. You understand? So I'll take a quotes from some of them, right? I'll just show you a couple of the quotes just to stay on the topic here. So this one says, the determining cause of an early habit continue to act for several generations, a newly acquired nature will be formed. I'm going to say that again. The determining causes of an early habit continue to act for several generations, a newly acquired nature will be formed. So, if you take a people, subjugate them, break their will, spirit, take away their tongue, their religion, their culture, and you recreate it, right? And they keep doing this from generation to generation. What you're going to have is that is going to now create a new natural form of a new creation. And that's what you're seeing today. You're seeing the newly formed creation of things from earlier that became habits of what we call civilizing, became what is really in opposition to us, that was degrading us and made us docile. This is a continuing of when you're talking about when we're going to go with time frame of 1650. Officially, they claim to be 1510, but it was 1650 because you got to remember when they was here, they were still fighting against what you want to call Native Indians, which, you know, that's for those people who follow into all that. I'm just going to stick to what everybody, most people mind is, other who don't really study to know. But 1650 is officially, right? So you have a little under 400 years, 365 years to be matter of fact, right? Right? A lot of people like to say 400, 500 years. Some people counting for 1510, but 1650, okay. So that which was instilled from that point to where we are now, we got this acquired new from that period of time to where we are now. And so what we're seeing is a people who are trying to come out of a scenario that had been implanted and trying to rise up out of it to become its own. You understand? You're trying to shed the old, right? Like shedding the skin or cocoon and coming into this new creation. And so for a lot of people who can't understand it and not understand that the transformation and still holding on to the old ideologies and things of that are still affected with it, and you can hear it in the way they're speaking. This Jesse so-called cat, right? You hear the sickness coming out of him. You hear it in a lot of the people who they make statements, and the first thing they want to say is, well, I see black people killing black people. And those people, I'm afraid of those type of, it's like, wait a minute. You only looking at what you're seeing. You're seeing the effect. You have not equated cause. And as long as you don't equate the cause in it, you'll never come to a real truth of understanding or understanding of truth. This is systemic. This ain't brand new. This ain't yesterday. This ain't 50 years ago. This ain't, see, a lot of people want to equate since Martin Luther King, since the 60s. Well, that's 1960. What about 1860? What about 1760? What about 1660? Huh? Y'all better get real. So I'll give you another quote. It says, for European liberty was associated with an abstract concept of equality, and he proposed a remedy, the accentuation of racial differences in order to prevent any further claims to equality. Okay? for European liberty was associated with an abstract concept of equality. Alright, so the white man, when he considered himself to be liberty free, right? He didn't give you the same for yourself. It's an abstract concept of equality. Meaning, a lot of people, when they talk about America, they all say it's the land of the free, home of the brave. It's the melting pot of multicultural and rights and constitution. Let me tell you something. When they were establishing this, when they were stealing and taking this land and forming it into this corporation, right? They were talking about this Anglo-Saxon, you know what I'm saying, English, French, German, Irish color, Italian, right? All these are from the same people who dispersed out when they got free from where they was, and when it came down on already civilized world, they were different branches according to the geographical location in which they went into, right? And subjugated, oppressed, and rewrote and became an empire. Then, according to that, they were separate people. When they all came to America, it was the first time that you had all of them from different nations in one place. So the multicultural, the multi-melting pot had nothing to do with anything of color, Hispanic. Well, you can say that because Spaniards is probably, okay. We're talking about colored people, red people, brown people. None of that was part of that. They were talking about the mixing of these all different branches, which they're really the same, systemic from the beginning, but this is the mindset that he got. This is why you're sick. Not you, listen to me. But of our people being sick is because they don't understand this. And so he has given those people who fall under the mantra of believing that he is honest and forthright and he has no agenda, he gave you an abstract concept of equality. And to prove it, he tells you that if he's going to say his Constitution is legitimate, right? If his Constitution is legitimate, there's no reason to put no amendment in there for you. There's no reason to say, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. If it don't apply to him before, and if he's going to include you in it, there's no need to add that in there because he sees you as equal. I'm going to prove to you he never looks at you equal. He never has looked at you equal, and this is why he can do what he do. Because he don't look at you. He don't even look at you as you human. That's the only way he can justify what he's doing. He cannot look at you in equality. He has to look at you as you're not equal. You understand? So he gives you an abstract concept of equality. That's why everybody knows that there's a difference between white law versus black law. You understand? White people don't go to jail for the same crimes that black people do because it's two different systems. And so the second part to this goes, as he proposed a remedy, the accentuation of racial differences in order to prevent any further claims to equality. So he came up, how he remedied this to make sure that there would be no equality, as he came up with the different ethnicities, by labels. And then through his science, he's going to say that the grandest and the greatest of the creation is the white man. And that everything under the white man is inferior to him. If you don't believe me, do you understand? When I put down there about the white man's burden, that it said here's the alleged duty of the white race to care for and educate ignorant or uncivilized people, especially subject people of other races. He the one came up with the term of race. So he did that to distinguish himself, so he could never, ever, you could never, ever, in his eyes, have any claims to equality with him, because you were never that. His science that he uses, when you have a lot of our brothers who into science, and they talk about anthropology and physiology, and they go into all that, right? As if this shit just started today. They've been doing this way back, putting this puzzle together. And I'm going to get into that religion with you. I'm going to show you really where that's coming from. But now you don't understand that. So you're never going to be equality, because he don't look at you as one. He's man and you're human. Right? Man is higher than human in his eyes. He is the greatest. That's why when you look at the Darwin image, it goes from a monkey to the white man. See, he's saying that you was primitive, historic man. Huh? You couldn't build, you didn't do nothing until when the white man came. He was the one that ended up formulating and making what we have today. And a lot of our people who fall into this is why your God is the white man. You look at him as the greatest thing since sliced bread. And his word is law. And you don't see anything wrong with what he's doing. And then you would throw that, all this monstrosity he's throwing on us, you throw it back on our people and say that our people are messed up because they're just messed up people. You're falling for the ideology that he has set long before you was even here. But you didn't know it exists, and you're regurgitating it based on the simple fact that that's what he wrote. But you didn't know he wrote that. But I'm going to show you he wrote that. Okay? Now, I use that word monstrosity because I knew I was coming up to it. Now, this is what another one quoted and said. The Negro is an intellectual monstrosity. To use the term in its scientific sense, in order to produce him, nature has employed the same means as she uses to give birth to those physical monstrosities which we see on show in glass cases. To achieve this result, all that was needed was for the certain parts of the creature to be arrested at a certain stage of development. I'm going to read that again. The Negro is an intellectual monstrosity. To use the term in the scientific sense, in order to produce him, nature has employed the same means as she uses to give birth to those physical monstrosities which we see on shows in glass cases. To achieve this result, all that was needed was for certain parts of the creature to be arrested at a certain stage of development. Now, the Negro is an intellectual monstrosity, meaning primitive man, which they going to say is the man who come created out of the monkey, with all the other creations, right? He is the intellectual of the monstrosities of what nature has produced. He's categorizing you with the same creation as the animals. But he said you are highly intellectual over the animals. And to validate his point, he uses the term in a scientific sense. Meaning he will back up what he's saying based on the science that he has created, with no one to opposition it. You know what I'm saying? It's like coming to work, they had a meeting talking about firing you, and when you get there, there's a case on you to fire you. They didn't tell you about the meeting. And then when you come to work, they talk about you fired, and they had the meeting, they had already adjourned, and they decided, and you ain't heard nothing. You ain't had your input. You could oppose none of it. Well, that's what they do with their science, and this is what a lot of our brothers, they want to sit here and they want to lock key and barrel exactly as if he don't have no agenda to his science when he's doing it. That it's going to correlate. It's going to correlate to it, man. Y'all don't understand that. Y'all thinking that he's being science don't lie. Science don't lie, but the results lie because he's the one who constructed it so that it can fit a certain narrative. You understand what I'm saying? He needs this to validate his existence because he can't find himself. So everything that he has to do have to offset you, which can be validated, but him, he cannot validate. So he has to use science, and he has to use history, and he has to use religion to, you understand, to formulate, to give him a reality, to give him the real existence. Otherwise, he's going to be when you finally figured it out. That's the thing. You're going to figure out who he is, right? So now, he goes on after saying scientifically since. This is what he's going to formulate in his people, as I had showed you already. When I showed you the cannabis and the Mueller, they're Gibonol and all. They're going to formulate this science. They're going to formulate the science to give them substantial validation to why they're saying what they're saying. Okay? Black people weren't in the room. Black people weren't studying. Black people didn't know science at that particular time. We are the progenitors of it. But once he got it and extricated and got us out of it, he rewrote the script. He spent all his time rewriting, trying to formulate to get himself some validation to who his existence is. Now, he says, in order to produce him, meaning us, right? He said, in order to produce him, this is how you're going to produce us. Nature has employed the same means that she uses to give birth to those physical monstrosities. Now, in this sense, he's saying in a way that we like him. To a point, he's saying subtly, right? But if we look at how nature does with its other creations, if we use this formula, then we can put them in the same animalistic, we can make them same animalistic like them and justify what we're doing. See? He says, nature has employed the same means that she uses to give birth to those physical monstrosities which we see on shows in glass cases. You know, they're talking about the museums and stuff, right? Animals, taxonomy, I think they call it, right? Now it says, how did nature do this? We figured out that to achieve the results, all it was needed to do was a certain part of the creature to be arrested, arrested, stopped, accosted, incarcerated, locked up, stage of development. Why, isn't it funny, and maybe I'll play it, that they say that when they put the black child versus the white child at birth at certain ages, that the black child is more cognitive, has, you know what I'm saying, is way more advanced than the white child. When that black child is now put into this school system, by the time he gets into about 3rd, 4th grade, something happens to him, and he is now not, his learning capacity is distorted. Did they use the education system to do what he says here, as he says, to achieve this result, all that was needed was a certain part of the creature to be arrested at a certain stage of development. So when you're a child and you're putting his parents who take their 4 or 5-year-old child and they put them into these school buildings and trusting the people who are against you to teach your child, right? And you don't understand the agenda that they got, and they're dwarfing their learning abilities, so that what end up happening. This is why we're talking about the pipeline from schools to the prison, because they're not learning shit. They're not using anything that's going to be. They're not learning anything that would be productive for them to be people in society. And so when you got people like that, then this must be true to the fact that they said they're arresting them at a certain stage of development. They're dwarfing, they're retarding, they're dumbing down so that they can't. And then they're stuck at a certain level of understanding, and because they're, come on, man. This ain't really rocket science. But you don't look at these people like that. You don't understand why they got to do that. When we get done, you're going to know. So they use these systems, education, to implant in you, because he's always said the Negro would never be accepted to the white man until the black man become a white black man. Is that what we're seeing today? Aren't we seeing more of our people other than the people who are from the hoods, us from the hoods? We're talking to people who become so-called educated and they become part of this so-called system, right? They become educated where they sever themselves from their people. They're not even for their people. And they're on their own agenda trying to suffice their own family, right? But yet they still be brainwashed too. Until their ass get in trouble, then all of a sudden it's like, hey brother, hey sister. We be like, oh, we know where your ass back down here now. Because your ass ain't got no love for you no more. Now you want to bring your ass back over here, right? And we done seen that many times. We could pull out a lot of names, but we're not going to do that. But we know that that's there, right? So that school system is a foundation, another kind of psychological phenomena that is introduced into the African. Because he also said that the African mind is like a cyclops, right? He said that the African is like a cyclops, meaning he'll have the body, the physiology of an animal, but we're going to take his head and make it a white man. So that means you're in total opposition of yourself, period. Your head is white, your body is black. And those who have a black head but a black body, you don't get nothing in this system. The system is after you. The system says you are in opposition because you continue to harbor the righteous indignation to be after my ass. It's only it is righteously indignant to have animosity for a motherfucker who keep fucking with you. You're supposed to have anger. You're supposed to be in odds with him. Look at the shit he's doing to you. And we keep turning a blind eye and acting as if, well, I have to be not racist. I have to act like I love these people when they don't love you. Moving on. The result is to be seen in those fetuses, they say fortuses, without heads or limbs. Those infants who bring to life the fable of Cyclops. Now the Negro is a white whose body acquires a well-defined form of the species, but whose whole intellects or intelligence is halted along the way. That was just the analogy I just gave you before. A cyclops is that horse with that white man, half horse, half man, right? So he's saying that the results, we're going to start from the fetus, huh? They're going to work their science into the fetus before the child is even hitting there. Think about this. When the child is born, the first thing they're doing is they give a child 21 damn shots. Huh? He ain't even hit 2 yet, and he got to have 21 shots. So people trust in them because they say it's doctor, white coat, he has a degree, and we trust in it. But we don't understand chemistry. We don't understand the concoctions when you put together these concoctions and what kind of effects they will do on the physiology of black people. So they dwarf you from even at your infancy. They've been fighting us for the longest. And we act as if we don't understand this. So he's turning you into a cyclops. He said a Negro is a white who has acquired the defined form of a species, but whose intellect is halted along the way. Meaning, he's going to make your brain, see, that's the thing. Black people don't even think like black people think. They think they do. We ain't never seen real blackness. How the hell can we act of something we ain't never seen? It's been in opposition to this the whole damn time. So we crazy if we thinking that this stuff that people picking up, this gangsterism, and all that shit, that's that shit they created. That ain't never was us. So your whole mindset is white. Everything you do is white. But you want to keep pretending as if like you legitimate, you real. No, you real white. He done halted your Negro essence. He done halted the black brain. He done extricated that all out of you. It don't exist. You are only a figment of a shell. You are the shell of a black person who has been gutted out inside and been imparted with a white brain. And this is the sickness of the so-called Stockplantationnegroe Syndrome. That's what you're seeing. And people keep regurgitating. Now the next point says, dare to revise and correct the works of nature. Dare it. By mixing together different races, this will produce an equality of talent which does not exist in primitive society, in which, like the equalities of rights, would be the creation of enlightenment and of a perfect reason. Now, I'm going to read that again. Dare to revise and correct the works of nature. By mixing together different races, this will produce an equality of talent which does not exist in primitive societies, in which, like the equalities of rights, would be the creation of enlightenment and of perfected reasons. Now, he dares to revise. They dare to revise nature. Isn't that what they always doing? They always telling you they come up and created something new in science. He's trying to outdo the creator. That's what that whole Prometheus movie was about. Him trying to go to the gods and get the fire from the gods and learn what God does so that he can do it. This is why he clones. This is why he do GMO foods. You understand? He wants to become God. That's what Frankenstein was all about. He took body parts and created his own body and made it become life. He now knows what it feels like to be God. So now his specimen is the black man, who has no mind, or black people, I don't say black people who now have been docile in their mind and their spirit, who have become more animalistic, killing each other, hatred towards one another. You understand? So you become a more founded animal creation by him. So he's going to take that, and by mixing together different races, this will produce now an equality of talent. So he's going to take this melancholy soup of different with this animalistic and these other animalistics, and he's going to make this new creation. He said, you've never seen this creation in primitive before. We're taking some of all of that and we're going to create and make this one that's going to be suitable for us, that we're going to use as talents. Isn't that what they do? If your ass can spit bars and that white man look at you and he say, man, I can make money off you, you'll get a contract. If your ass can shoot that ball and dunk on motherfuckers like it ain't shit, he gonna sign your ass to a contract. If you can sing them lyrics and make people buy them records, he gonna, You understand what he's saying? He's creating a talent base for him. He's creating a talent base. Now, he's also is going to do in this so-called mixing, is going to call itself creating a breed that's going to have some intelligence, enlightenment, and a perfected reason. Think about this. How is it that every time when we look in history, majority of the people who are leaders for black people, other than Martin and we'll say Malcolm, Garvey, and we go back a little bit more, but most of the time they light-skinned people. Most of the people who lead black people are people who are not as melanated as the most melanated. As I'm not against them, I'm just saying that for some odd reason they always will put you in a position. Let's just take hypothetically, Jesse Jackson would have never had one for the simple fact he was too Negro any damn way. Not that I'm even for Jesse Jackson, but I'm just using it as an analogy. But look at Barack Obama, fits the stereotype. Plus, look at his background of his parentage. He was perfect for that. You get it? So this is this creation of this talent that he's going to use And so people got all caught up in that whole thing, and look how people acted when they thought that this man was going to do some savior for them, and come to find out he was no more than the same than anybody been there before. Right? That's what they do to you. That's what they do. So, this is what Hitler said. Hitler said, the sin against the blood and the degradation of race are the hereditary sins of this world and the end of a mankind surrendering to them. Say that again. The sin against the blood and the degradation of race are the hereditary sins of this world and the end of a mankind surrendering to them. Huh? See, you can love anybody you want to love. That's your choice. But if you understood, as if those people who follow the prescription of Christianity, they told you Christ died with his blood. Huh? Why is it the blood? Why is it that the blood makes significance? What is so precious about the blood? The blood tells who you are. Huh? That's your lineage to who you're tied to. If I can distort that and breed it and mix it up, right? Think about this. If you're the oldest, we're going to talk about it from a worldview as people. You're the oldest people on the planet. And then you got Johnny come lately, come last. How could he ever claim indigenous to a land when people who've been here longer than you have more rights? And again, he told you rights in the abstract thought. But rights to the land, right? How could this one ever be in a position to call himself a sovereign? You know how he does it? He mixes everybody else up that dilutes your original blood strain and make it become a new strain, and then he's the only one with an original strain, which he gets to say, I am of the oldest of all you new people. Do I need to say that again? His formula is to mix everybody else's blood up so that it does not have the validity of sovereignty by diluting it, by mixing it, because it's like when they went to Tiger and they asked Tiger what was his background, he was talking about he was quarter Calabian, he was coming all this half, quarter, you understand, to define who he was. So if everybody is mixing in with everybody, that's the same shit you gonna do. And then here's these other people who these so-called 1% of the elite people who ain't mixing their blood, they get to claim this sovereignty land because something else you didn't know that they've been doing that I found out is that they are actually, check this out. A lot of you who gave them blood, right? A lot of you have given blood to these blood banks and stuff like that. Do you know that these mugs so slick that they patent your blood? They patent it. Why is that important? If I patent it, means I got rights to it. That means I own it, right? Which means one day somebody, they're going to use blood as to how to, give sovereign to land. You won't be able to claim it. Whoever owns it will be able to claim it. And they get this. Y'all don't know how diabolical they is. You don't understand them. You don't know them. You think you know them. You don't know them. You ain't trying to know them. You stuck on all this other bullshit. You better know who you're dealing with here. That's who you're dealing with here. You feel me? So moving on. So this just go to show you how this psychological phenomena has worked, because these are the intricate mentalities of these people and how they were thinking, how they still think, and how they continue the family business to this day. They change it over and do it because different generation, because you can't keep running the same game and think you'll get the same results. You got to keep spicing it up. You got to add a little Caesar sauce, a little pepper, a little salt, some hot sauce to it, some barbecue sauce to it. You understand? You got to spice it up. And so that's what they do. And so when the newer generation come and then they hear people of the older generation, they say, well, nigga, you don't know what you're talking about. Nigga, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You ain't been here long enough. This is an old game. This ain't no new game. This is an old game. But we just ain't had people who really sat down and looked at it from the way it's supposed to be looked at so they can be disseminated. That's all.
No, let's ask the white man. He knows. He's related to them.
Yeah, Whitey, why is everything?
Yeah, Whitey, why is it that way?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to take the heat.
For all of the evils that white people have
all
laid.
All I can say is, we're vindictive because you stole our pigment.
Ah! Wow! Wow! I don't believe that level of truth. Just wow!
Wow!
I got a book on that. Oh my God! Oh, I can't believe you said that, man. You better.
Damn, we got a caller. Jesus, that was heavy.
This operation is terminated.
In a bullfight, there comes a time when, after being brutalized while making innumerable charges at the moment of a cape, the bull finally turns and faces his adversary, with the only moment being his heaving, bloody sides. It is believed that for the first time he really sees the matador, and this final confrontation is known as the moment of truth. For the bull, this moment comes too late. The experience of black people all over the world presents an analogous situation. For hundreds of years there have been charging at the banner that are held by the European white matadors. Those banners have been represented by concepts such as democracy, capitalism, Marxism, religion, and education, and they remained constant as long as blacks were assets. However, with technology and worldwide industrialization on the rampage, resulting in a further exploitation of African resources, which in turn produces and increases in African blacks' national consciousness, blacks are now a threat and a liability to the white race, and the banner held by the matador represents only one concept: genocide. As a consequence, the major research that white scientists are involved in with today is genocidal in nature. Nuclear warfare, population control, medication control, genetic engineering, psychosurgery, electrical stimulation of the brain, and the highly complex science of behavioral technology. Therefore, it is indeed blacks' moment of truth, and it is time for them to look at the matador.